All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful, yet kind of invisible forces shaping our world, the way our public conversation gets built. You know, how do certain topics just explode onto our feeds and into the headlines? Let's get into it.
Seriously, think about it. One week, the economy is the only thing anyone's talking about. The very next week, it's all about a conflict overseas. And then, bam, it's civil rights. How does the entire world's attention pivot so fast? Is that just random, or is there something else going on here? Well, the answer to that question starts with this really simple but totally profound idea about the pictures in our heads and how we actually see the world. So, way back in 1922, this writer, Walter Lippmann, he had this incredible insight. He realized that for most of us, the world is just way too big, way too complex to experience firsthand. So what do? We rely on the media to be our bridge, to create these pictures in our heads that, for all intents and purposes, become our reality.
And that's exactly where agenda setting theory comes into play. It was developed decades after Lippmann, but it gives us the blueprint. It's the scientific explanation for how the media's giant searchlight moves from one topic to the next, pulling certain issues out of the dark and right into our collective focus.
So how does this whole thing actually work? Well, the theory isn't just one simple idea. Oh no, it's evolved over time and it's revealed these deeper and deeper layers of media influence. Let's break down the three main levels.
This right here, this is the core idea. This is level 1 of agenda setting. Just by choosing what stories to cover and how much attention to give them, the media focuses our attention. They influence what we believe are the most important issues facing all of us.
So the theory really unfolds in three key stages. First up, it's about what to think about, the big topics. Then it gets a little more subtle. It's about how to think about them, the specific angles and details that get highlighted. And finally, the third level is all about how the media links all these ideas together in our mind.
So back in 1968, during a heated presidential election, two researchers, Maxwell McCombs and Donald Shaw, decided to really put this idea to the test. They went to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and they surveyed undecided voters with a really simple question. What are the most important issues to you right now?
And what they found was absolutely mind-blowing. They analyzed all the news those voters were reading and watching, and they compared the media's list of top issues to the voters' list. And look at that. The correlation was nearly perfect. The stuff the media covered the most was the exact same stuff voters said was most important. This was the first real proof.
But of course, the theory didn't stop there. Researchers quickly figured out that the media doesn't just tell us what to think about, it also shapes how we think about it. It does this by emphasizing certain characteristics or attributes. Is a candidate framed as experienced or as a fresh-faced outsider? Is a problem all about unemployment or is it about inflation? That's the second level in action.
And the third level, well, it takes things even further. It suggests that the media also shows us how all these different pieces connect. It's not just about one issue here or one attribute there. It's about how the media weaves them all together into this big, interconnected picture inside our heads. Now, this brings up a really important question. Does this process affect all of us in the exact same way? Turns out our own psychology plays a huge role in how much we're actually influenced. So, are we all just sponges, just soaking this stuff up? The answer is a definite no. The theory is smart enough to know that the audience isn't passive. Some of us are way more influenced than others, and there's a really specific psychological reason why.
And it all comes down to this idea called the need for orientation, or NFO for short. And your personal NFO is basically set by two things: how relevant an issue is to you and how uncertain you are about that same issue.
So here's the bottom line. If you think a topic is super relevant to your life, but you also feel really uncertain about it, your need for orientation is high. That means you're going to actively look to the media to help you figure it out, which makes you way more likely to adopt its agenda. If either of those feelings, relevance or uncertainty, is low, the effect is a whole lot weaker.
Okay, but that just leads to another huge question, right? If the media is setting our agenda, then who or what is setting the media's agenda? It's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah, the media's agenda doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's shaped by all these powerful forces: elite news sources, politicians who are setting the talking points for the day, massive PR campaigns, and, this is a big one, other news outlets.
And that brings us to this key process called intermedia agenda setting. When a big story hits the front page of a major paper like the New York Times, it basically sends a signal to every other newsroom that this story is important. It legitimizes it, creating this cascade effect across the entire media landscape.
But here's the thing. Almost everything we've talked about so far was figured out in a world of newspapers and 3 TV channels. In the 21st century, the game has completely changed, and so has the way agendas get set.
We've made this huge shift from a world that was dominated by what's called vertical media, where information was broadcast from the top down to everybody, to a world that's now packed with horizontal media. You know what this is: blogs, our social media feeds, those niche websites that connect communities with very specific shared interests.
So to make sense of this new world, theorists came up with this really fascinating idea: agenda melding. It's this intimate, often unconscious process where we pull from all these different sources, the big news, our niche communities, our own lives, to build a picture of the world that really fits us.
So think about what this means. We've gone from being these passive agenda receivers to being active agenda curators. We're literally melding the big national issues from vertical media with the niche topics from our horizontal media and blending it all with our own personal experiences to create a highly personalized agenda.
Now, this gives every single one of us more power, more agency than ever before. But it also puts a much bigger responsibility on our shoulders. We have to be so much more aware of the sources we choose and the little echo chambers we might be building for ourselves, maybe without even realizing it.
And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. In this modern world, with its limitless buffet of information and perspectives, the most important question isn't just what is the media's agenda anymore. The real question is, who ultimately is in charge of yours?